Welcome back to another episode of Mundane Conversation. 4 years later, we have Arvid again promoting his newest record, Pyreburning. Hello.
Hey, how's it going? It has been a while.
It's been a while. I remember back in 2018, you had said that you wanted less time in between records.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah, and that worked out really well. It took 4 years. No, I was just gonna say it's funny because that's how I feel now. Is like now I'm like, oh yeah, and less time between records. So hopefully it's not another 4 years, but we'll see.
We'll see. It's always worth the wait. So yeah, how are things for you? How's life in its current state, post release?
Yeah, I mean, we've literally been through an entire pandemic since the last album came out, and um, we're kind of still going through that. So I'm just kind of navigating things and doing my thing and trying to get the album out there as best as I can. And I'm already working on more material as well. So
Mm.
it's going pretty well.
Yeah, it really feels like the entire world has gone to shit since the last time we spoke.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Has the pandemic did that affect any of the writing on this record at all? Is any of that evident?
I would say I mean it was a super isolating writing process, but I mean all of my music has always been just me, like doing it myself, but I definitely think that this was more isolating than any other project I ever did because I didn't really show any of it to anybody. I spent a ton of time just in my room, just working on the record, just completely alone, and like nobody heard. I think I might have shown people tiny snippets maybe once or twice throughout that entire period of working on the album, but like nobody heard it in its entirety or heard like an entire finished song until like a week before everybody else did. Like it was a really isolating process. So that would be like the one big difference. But I definitely think that you know pandemic and the isolation that comes with it definitely played a part in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow. So then, since you didn't share it, how did you feel about the record, like pre-release? Like, were you nervous about it? Did you feel confident about it?
I was. I mean, I'm just like constantly anxious. So like, I was pretty anxious about it. But
Mm-hmm.
like, I get anxious about releasing anything like
Yeah.
at all. Like, there's no way around that. So, um, yeah, I was super anxious about it. But at the same time, I was really happy with what I made, and I set a standard for myself, and I felt like I met that standard because, I can't really. I'm not the kind of person who releases things without thinking about it heavily.
Mm-hmm.
And like after the last record, I identified the things that I thought I could improve on, and then I kind of said I'm not releasing this album until it's 100% ready, which is why it takes me so long, I
Yeah.
guess, and took me so long to put out this record because I really wanted to make sure I felt very confident about it before I even announced the release date.
So you're sort of a perfectionist when it comes to your artwork.
Yeah, I would probably say that I fall into that category of, you know, obsessing over,
Mm-hmm.
every detail of something until I think it's right.
I'm gonna say, do you find that that gets in the way of your process sometimes?
I think so. Like a little bit. Like I definitely think I could have released this album a little sooner if I hadn't, you know, been up all night some nights just thinking about a snare drum,
Mm-hmm.
like a single snare track, like that kind of thing. It probably could have gone a bit quicker, but at the same time, I don't know if I would be as happy with the record if I hadn't, taken such time to be meticulous with it. Like, because once you put it out, you don't really like that's it. You can't really edit it unless
Yeah.
you're Kanye West, and
Unless
I
you're
don't really
Kanye.
want to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
Pac-Man.
like he's had a great career and everything. I think he's a genius, but like at the same time, I'm not really trying to update my album once it's done. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, of course.
yeah, I'm happy with my process, even if I wish I could do it a little bit quicker.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's like they say, like a rushed album is forever disappointing, but a delayed album is eventually great.
Well, yeah, exactly. And like that's kind of what that's what I shoot for. Is like I said, I hold myself to a really high standard, um, and every time I release a record, I kind of like raise the bar for myself a little higher.
Hmm.
So it was higher for this one for sure.
You mentioned just earlier that you were identifying the things from Goodnight Daydream that you thought you could expand upon. What were those things that you were trying to work on with Pyreburning?
I guess that like for me, it just comes down to because I am proud of Goodnight Daydream, and even though I'm a different person now than I was back then, and some of those songs, like I wouldn't even write some of those songs today. I don't think just as a result of how my taste has changed, how my writing has changed. But I think for me, I'm always just looking to be as concise as I possibly can in terms of making sure every second of music is engaging and
Mm-hmm.
memorable. So for me, that's something that I focused on.
So,
And a lot of these songs, they meander a little bit. I think that there's some songs on this record that take a little more patience, and they're more patient songs in general. But at the same time, it's stuff that I really thought through and really tried to make sure it met my standard before I put it out.
yeah, because this record, I did notice that there's almost like a little bit of like, I don't want to say drone, but like almost like that reminds me of like a drone in a way, where like a song will finish and then have like that outro where sort of like everything comes together and it's almost like a wall of sound that you experience. Like what was your reasoning behind this process? Like what brought your attention to this for this record?
I guess like I don't know. I just got like really big into like you know um, I listened to like a lot of Can and a lot of like Kraftwerk and Tangerine Dream and I got really big into Brian Eno as well.
Mm,
So I guess just those are all artists who I think do an amazing job at being patient with their music and with their songs and um, that ends up being super memorable, at least to me. I think that can be really impactful. So it just kind of like felt right based on the things that were influencing me at the time. It just felt right to write the songs that way.
yeah, yeah, because it's nice to see an artist doing that because it's almost like you're almost like respecting your audience because the last thing you want is to see like an artist who has done those things sort of progress to a moment where it's like intent. I don't know, like intentionally gratifying music. Not that there's necessarily anything inherently wrong with that, but I also just I don't know. There's something that I find funny and likable when an artist doesn't give like where you don't fully you're holding the cards in that way like you're requiring more patience from your audience like you're not handing everything over in one go.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And like also, it's stylistically it is like a pretty big change up. And I think that I experimented with that a little bit on the last album. There are some songs that, like I don't know about specifics, but like there are some songs that ran a little bit longer than others. I think that like the very beginning of Goodnight Daydream, it's like I feel like it's like 3 minutes of electronic,
Yeah.
just sampling and stuff like that. And that caught like I had a lot of people hit me up and be like, "This is bullshit. Like we're not
Yeah,
gonna
I
do."
remember with the original thread that I found
Yeah,
yeah, people were talking about that. But you know what? I fucking disagree. After all this time, like listening more and more, because I feel like I maybe thought that at first too, but I don't know. I like the weight. It's an engaging loop, and there's the payoff because the song, like it translates into a great song afterwards too. So I feel like that's the big thing. If it requires patience, that's fine as long as there's that payoff, that gratification.
yeah. No, I agree for sure, um, and I appreciate you thinking it's a great song. I thought it was a good idea at the time, but at the same time, yeah, like I said, it's a bit of a stylistic change up, and I kind of like took that concept and wanted to keep experimenting with that further. I definitely, it's yeah, it's this is not Goodnight Daydream 2 by any
Hmm.
means. I think that a lot of people, I don't know, I just didn't want people to expect that because that's just not the kind of artist I am. But
Yeah.
I definitely like identified things on Goodnight Daydream that I really liked that I experimented with and wanted to, kind of focus on a lot more on this record.
Yeah, yeah, because there's like it's for me like from what I gathered when I listened to it, it seems like a bit more grittier, like a bit more distorted. Of course, like more of like those looping sort of droning moments. Definitely some similarities that feels like they're in the same family, like sort of that watery, like bubbly, I don't know, feeling that I had with Goodnight Daydream. Like I feel like Garden's Gone could be a song that definitely could have appeared on Goodnight Daydream. But
Yeah.
like Ghosty is a song that definitely like wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Like, and I'm still the same guy at the end of the day. Like, I have my influences, and also, another thing about this record is like, I mean, like I don't know. Like, Garden's Gone was like one of the first songs that I wrote for it, and like, I guess that I did go through some stylistic changes like throughout just the course of making this record. So like, I don't know, a lot of material got thrown out. A lot of songs were unused. I pretty much scrapped like an entire LP's worth
Mm.
of material in making this album. I still have them, on my computer, but Garden's Gone was one of the songs that I wrote, pretty early on, and I was like, I'm going to keep this one around because I like it and I think it really fits.
Yeah. Yeah, would you, so the material that you scrapped, would you ever release any of that or workshop that for a future record, or is it fully like in the vault?
That's a good question, and I don't really know. Like, I don't want to say no, like I'll never release it because maybe I will one day. Maybe like I've definitely kicked around the idea of like once I have enough material that I think works well, uh, together and would actually make a competent release and not just a dump of a bunch of crap on my hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would definitely consider putting out some of those songs. As far as workshopping them for future releases, I don't know. I guess it would just come down to once the project I'm working on now kind of comes together and I understand what it's going to be, if one of those songs seems like it's going to fit, then yeah, that's certainly something that I could do, and I've done that kind of thing in the past as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely possible.
Um, yeah, so I was actually, yeah, I was going to ask what song that made it on the record was the very first one that you finished. Was that Garden's Gone?
I think so. Yeah, so I believe it was Garden's Gone, and then the second would have been Windows, um, and then like Headlights, and then Ghosty and the Pyre were both like the last songs that I worked on. Ghosty, I definitely spent the most. Well, I don't know. I mean, the Pyre's like a 20-minute song, so I spent a ton of time working on both of those.
Yeah.
Like, but those two definitely came kind of last. And yeah.
Which song did you find the most challenging to finish?
Um, Honestly, it's like tied between Ghosty and the Pyre probably
Hmm.
because I mean Ghosty is just like that. That's a really special song to me, I guess. So I took like particular care, and I must have, I don't know, like recorded 200 vocal takes or something before I finally came up with a take where I was like, this works well. Um, and I was really nitpicking everything with that mix. But the Pyre, yeah, it's a long song. And I didn't even really intend on it being 20 minutes long. It's kind of just like I came up with this idea. I really liked it. I kept writing it out, and then when I write songs, it kind of just feels like it comes to its natural conclusion, and then it's done. But with the Pyre, it just didn't feel like it came to its natural conclusion for a very long time.
Mm.
So both of those presented interesting challenges, and I would say it was those two.
Yeah, well, with like especially Ghosty was like especially on like first listen one that stood out to me. I think it's one of your best songs. Like it's pretty fantastic,
Thank
and
you.
that's one where the vocals do like stand out. Like even like the little inflections, like raising on the word like me,
Hmm.
is like great moments. Super catchy and replayable, but like also um, it's like affecting, like especially with like the lyricism and going through it. And that's also one thing that I do like about this project and your other projects is the way it's written. It's personable, but it's also sort of cryptic and mysterious, which is something I really like about it.
Yeah, it's I'm definitely. I mean, I work really hard. I'm not really a natural born lyricist or anything like that, but I do work really hard at um, making sure everything comes together. So I yeah, certainly appreciate that.
One of the lyrics I was curious about that, of course, you're welcome to say however much you want to, but there's that one repeating lyric that appears across the project. It's not for nothing. I was just wondering, what does this phrase like mean to you?
I don't know. It I don't know. It just kind of came to mind, and for whatever reason, it kind of just like there was a song that it that phrase like featured on a lot more. One of those scrap songs that I talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But it just kind of for whatever reason, it just felt like a theme of the album. I don't want to. I guess I don't want to get too into what it means to me, but like it is just kind of like a recurring thing and something that kind of grounded me throughout the entire process of making the album. It's just I don't know, like a little phrase that I refer back to.
Yeah, of course. As well, I was curious about the cover art because the cover art I really like. Did you make this? Did you draw this?
I did not draw this. I like on BANDCAMP and stuff. I say I designed it and everything, which I guess I technically did. I didn't draw this, but I did. I curated it. It's just a really old piece of Hindu artwork that I came across and I really liked, and I thought it kind of encapsulated a lot of what I'm going for on this record. So no, I can't take credit for drawing that. It is an amazing piece of artwork. I really like it. But yeah, it's just some old Hindu shit.
Okay, yeah, I really like it. Yeah, it's full of detail, and I feel like it really like captures like the themes and the feelings like going into the record.
Yeah, definitely.
So as well, I was just curious. So you first announced this record on September 16th, 2020. What was the album like at that point in time?
Oh man, that's crazy. I actually didn't know that's when I first announced it. It's a long time ago. So I mean, it was different. Like this album did go through quite a few changes, and I guess back then when I announced it, I just remember like in my head being like, oh yeah, I can release this thing by summer 2021. And then summer came around and I was telling my friends like, yeah, I'm shooting for a release like before Halloween, which, neither of those things happened. But it was in a completely different state for sure. And, some of those songs like Garden's Gone was there in a different form than it ended up being on the record now. Windows was there. I think those are like the two songs that I released kind of as, like not quite as lengthy. Like they were pretty much half the time that they ended up being on the LP itself. But I remember I released those two songs on YouTube or whatever like that. And this album went through a lot of changes stylistically, and it took a while for me to really, get it all to come together. I might have jumped the gun on announcing it, but it was a record that I really wanted to take my time with, and really is one that means a lot to me.
Yeah, I was wondering about like Windows and Gardens Gone, as when you shared them, they were a lot shorter. Like what made you want to change them and like add more to them for the final release?
I don't know. I think that I brought them a little closer to not only fitting my vision a little better, but also getting along with the rest of the record a little bit better. And I remember like back in the day, like way back when I released Food of the Gods as a YouTube video, I did the same thing. Like it's a totally different mix on the record as opposed to that video that I put out. And it's just it just comes down to contextually, how do these songs fit on the record? Are they just songs for the sake of being songs, or are they an integral piece of the album where the identity of the record would be changed if you replace these songs with something else? So like that's what it comes down to when I'm working on a song. I'm always thinking about every other song on the record with it, and trying to make sure that it all fits and that it's all natural as well.
Yeah, the sequencing. The sequencing of both Goodnightdaydream and Pyreburning are very impressive, because it feels like everything's in the right place, and if anything moved, it would like be disrupted. I was also, because you talked about like not having like any PR, it's just you share your own stuff. I
Hmm.
find that really impressive because, like, on Spotify, like the song "Goodnight Daydream" has like 400,000 streams.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. How did the like where did all that come from?
That's a good question. I like don't even know. I do follow my Spotify stats like pretty closely to try to like um understand how that happens. But yeah, like 400,000 streams on Goodnight Daydream, like you said. Um, I think that algorithmically, it just did pretty well when it comes to Spotify's algorithms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It certainly makes me happy to see that people want to listen to it that much. I saw that it's in like 10,000 Spotify playlists
Oh
as
my
well, which
gosh.
like yeah, like completely boggles my mind. Um, but like it certainly is. It's really nice to see that people like that song so much. Um, but yeah, like I don't know, man. Like just thank the Spotify curators or the algorithm or
Yeah,
whatever.
praise the
It's
algorithm.
way, yeah, way beyond what I can comprehend or understand, and um, yeah, I just want to keep making great music. But it's really nice that people dig that song for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's awesome. I mean, that's the song deserves it for sure. It's probably my favorite song like that you've done. Uh, it's and with that record when I first heard it in 2018, um, I thought it was really like inspiring in the sense that like for me wanting to do music eventually, but then I was thinking, well, I don't know, like if it's something I can do, but wanting to do it, I thought it was really inspiring in the sense that it just felt like if you make quality work, then somebody somewhere is going to notice it, and people are going to listen.
Yeah, that's kind of been my mantra since I made Goodnight Daydream because before Goodnight Daydream, I um I was making music, but I guess I wasn't really making it as quite as seriously. I was still having fun with it. I had a very modest amount of listeners before that album, and I enjoyed that. But yeah, I guess that my thing, and I don't know whether or not I've quite achieved it to the level that I would like to. And I'm not saying that I'm a great artist or anything, but I am saying that like I just believe that um, a lot of people say that it comes down to luck. If people are going to listen to your stuff, it's like 100% luck or 90% luck or whatever. But I really think that I strive to just make something that's like so good that people have to listen to it and have to share it around, and something that really draws people in. And that's what I try to do to the best of my ability. And I just try to make something that I would like. Um, I try to trust my own taste and make something that I genuinely think is good enough and warrants people taking 40 minutes out of their day to listen to, because that's a lot of time at the
Yeah.
end of the day in 2022. 40 minutes is a substantial amount of time. That's time that I could be spending playing video games. So your album better be pretty freaking good if I'm going to listen to it, like um, and then so yeah, I really that's kind of how I approach it. Is I got to make something good enough to compete with everything else that anybody could be listening to at any
Yeah.
given time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because nowadays, like you're like with attention spans being as low as they are, and even for me too. Like yeah, for sure. Like you're competing with so much. The absolute ocean of music that you're dropping, like a single song into. It is intimidating, but it's also like just that much more wonderful when somebody really does pick up on like what you're doing and you feel like they understand it.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Like it. Yeah, I appreciate genuinely every single play, every single download of my album. Like it all means a ton to me, and yeah, it is very valuable in a time where we have streaming services where like every single album that's ever been released is at your fingertips 24/7. Like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's a lot of competition. It's not just what's on the radio; it's everything that's ever been on the radio. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, no, I do definitely take it very seriously when it comes to making something that's good enough to warrant other people listening to it. Like that's something that I've really, um, yeah, focused on for sure.
Are there? Do you listen to like much music from like smaller, like small artists that are like doing a similar thing where they're just doing what they do and putting it out there? Like not a lot of. Is there a lot that you've discovered or enjoyed? Is there any artists that you might want to shout out?
I like not as much as I would like to, but like there are some people like Imp of Perverse is a band that is from Texas, and I talk to that guy, pretty often, and like that's one artist I can think of who is not getting enough attention, and I think he's amazing, like a genuinely amazing songwriter and producer, and like relatively similar to what I do. Yeah, Imp of Perverse is one that I can think of, and then other than that, I kind of find music the same way that everybody else does. So usually those Bandcamp artists I listen to, like
Mm-hmm.
lately, it's been like Midair Thief and Paranol, which are artists that have
Oh yeah.
absolutely popped off,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
insanely to the stratosphere. And like I listen to them, but I found them the same way everybody else did, which was
Mm-hmm.
they went online and bugged everybody to listen to it because it's that good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, Paranoia was a really exciting one because like he really just came out of nowhere and just had a
yeah,
fantastic record that everyone just shared, and it really felt organic, like it felt like every artist's dream for that to happen. Like it was amazing
yeah,
to see.
yeah, absolutely, and like super, everything you can read from that artist. Just a super modest guy, and um, just really humble music, and just so heartfelt. Like that's what grabbed me. I think that's what grabbed everybody. And
Yeah.
like you read what he wrote on that Bandcamp page, and it's just like, yeah, this is literally just. I've seen many albums like this in online circles where I kind of focus on, because that's where I came from as an artist, was just sharing my music in online circles like this. And there have been many albums like this where somebody's just making shoegaze music in their dorm room, but
Hmm.
never this good. So it is cool to see that kind of thing and listen to it.
Yeah, like that's the thing I find that gravitates me towards like smaller artists the most. Like if you really want to grab my attention with a song, like other than like besides just being like just a plainly like great song, like just like
Right.
instrumentally, like it's a lot of like that genuineness, that emotion that comes through. I find like if a small artist cares and pays attention to their lyrics, that grabs me a lot. Like if it seems really like put thought into it, because there's so many like like small artists that you can listen to where it's just like complete bullshit. Or it
Yeah,
just
no,
doesn't
you're
feel
right.
impactful at all.
No, you're right. And like I do, there are some small artists that, I do listen to a lot of guys that nobody's really listened to before. And yeah, it is, sometimes I will come across something where I'm like, I really wish you had just left this in the oven a little bit longer, thought it through a little bit more, because, there's talent here. But um yeah, people, I don't know. It's just, yeah, like kind of like what I was saying before. You just got to really care about making something that can compete and has a fighting chance at grabbing people's ears over everything else they could be listening to.
Yeah.
And there's certainly a ton of obscure stuff out there that's amazing. Tons of artists, and I wish I could think more specifically of who those artists are, but there's a lot of them.
Yeah, and I gotta thank like Bandcamp for the platform that they've done, because I feel like they're truly the last like bastion for small artists to really survive and to possibly do well. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
like all the best guys are on there, and if you're not on Bandcamp, if you're not trying to find new people on Bandcamp, then then you guys are missing out, because there's like so much good shit.
Yeah, you got to get on it before we're all getting Fortnite
Oh
skins
my
and stuff.
god, Epic Games! What did you think of that?
I woke up because like I'm pretty like into video games, and I keep up with what's going on, because I was born in the '90s and I grew up with a Sega Genesis, and I bought all the consoles when they came out and stuff like that, and I still play quite a bit of computer games and stuff like that. So I'm well aware of Epic. And I was not expecting to see that headline at all. Like, on one hand, I'm not surprised, but on the other hand, I was like, "What the fuck? Like,
Yeah,
really? Like, you know,
yeah.
like they've ruined so many games I like already. Like, just stay away from my music platform, please."
Yeah, I couldn't help but just feel like really bad. Like it honestly depressed the fuck out of me, because like they just like Bandcamp has such a good thing going on. Like I
Yeah,
truly like really just love everything they're doing, and the fact that something could come in and change that for the sake of like money or profit is so fucking awful, because Like, why does everything have to be owned by something now? Like, there's always a bigger fish, always a bigger company eating smaller things until everything is one big mega company and fucking
Yeah.
praise Coca-Cola. It fucking sucks. It's depressing.
Yeah, it does suck. And like, like I am like optimistic and hoping like, hopefully it goes well. Hopefully Bandcamp doesn't change too much, even though I think it's wishful thinking. And like, I do expect that um, the aspects of Bandcamp that are not profitable to Bandcamp will now, that money is now going to Epic, and we know how Epic operates, and they operate on a very, you know, they care a lot about profits. So
Hmm.
I do worry that certain things about because like all my albums, including this one, are name your price
Yeah.
because that's really important to me actually. Like it's really important to me that it can be name your price because I grew up without a lot of money and using like Napster and stuff like that like as
Hmm.
a kid to get my music and grew up using like I don't know like Blogspot to get albums and stuff. So I want people to have the opportunity to download my music without having to spend money on it. Like I care
Yeah.
about that a lot and um so like I do worry about things like that going away because it's not very profitable for Epic.
Yeah, for sure.
So those are like the little things I worry about. That's probably my primary concern. Um, and we'll have to see how it goes for artists and stuff like that when it comes to this acquisition.
Yeah. Yeah, the pay your own pricing is a really nice
Yeah.
function because if you only have $1 to spend on music this month, then awesome. If you give me that dollar, that is like I'm so grateful for that. Thank you for just giving me your
Yeah.
time and attention.
Yeah.
Um, and also like even just like and being able to pay more as well. Like like Bandcamp is like and Bandcamp Fridays is one of the best ways you can support an artist you really like. Because if you stream their stuff, that's good, but like it's not really gonna make them any money. So
No, no.
if there's really like a way you want to support them, buy their record, $10 or less or whatever you want, and it's really nice that they have that going.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I mean people need to keep in mind when you're listening to and trying to support an independent artist. I've had plenty of people over the years say like, well, I'll just listen to your music on Spotify. I don't have to buy it on Bandcamp. Like it'll still support you, right? And it's like, well, yeah, I do appreciate that, but keep in mind I'm getting like 0.002 cents per play or whatever
Yeah.
that figure is like and at least with Bandcamp, it is nice because right now, and I don't know how this podcast is going to age
Yeah.
because it could change, but right now, yeah, Bandcamp takes a 15% cut. It's actually super, super fair to the artists that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's 15% is perfectly fine for the avenue that they give independent artists to get their stuff out there. And then, yeah, you talked about Bandcamp Fridays where they get rid of that cut completely and we get 100% of whatever people spend on it. So, yeah, it is an amazing way of supporting the artists you like. Um, and hopefully it stays that way. Like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic about it, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like Bandcamp Fridays will stay because they've proved to be super profitable. Like, maybe not for Bandcamp in the short term, but I mean, it generates so much extra buzz. People are talking about it. And they make so much money, like, on not Bandcamp Fridays that I feel like they would be really stupid if they were to get rid of that because it's a fantastic, like, resource.
Yeah, no, I honestly think that Epic will keep that because, um, the way we've seen with their game store, they literally just give away games for free in hopes that it will bring people over to their platform over the competition.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, hopefully that kind of thing stays. And at the end of the day, all we can hope is that this is still a bastion for um, fairness, I guess, in the independent music scene because right now with streaming services, like we've been talking about Spotify, and I was talking about looking at my Spotify stats and having 400,000 plays on Goodnightdaydream, and like that's great, that's cool, but this is no way for me to make a living. That 400,000 plays, it is significant. It's
Yeah.
extremely significant to me. It's nuts, but like with the way it is in the streaming world, that doesn't really amount to anything that I can use to actually like benefit my life outside of people hearing my stuff.
Yeah.
It's really just exposure.
Yeah. It's not
Um,
livable.
No, it's not livable at all. But that being said, I'm super grateful for having that many plays. It's nuts, um, but yeah, it's just I don't know. Like if we want to survive, if we want to, um, yeah, really get our stuff out there in a meaningful way, it comes down to services like Bandcamp that let us do that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, because like the streaming era, like and how and while of course it's amazing to have all this music at your fingertips and only pay like what fucking like $10 a month ish, or even less if like they have student prices and things like that for one person. That's awesome as a consumer. I guess, but I feel like we should be paying more. Like I feel like it's worth
Right.
more if it provides to artists more so than it does. It's worth it. I mean, maybe the average consumer that doesn't like make anything doesn't think about that, but
Yeah.
it like the way it isn't sustainable, and people are too used to paying too little for the amount that they get.
No, you're totally right. I mean, like you do like at the end of the day, um, people, the price that you're paying for a premium subscription to Spotify, like, dude, it's insane. Like because it doesn't even compare to like Netflix or something like that. Like you're getting everything. Like the amount of music that you can't listen to on Spotify is so relatively insignificant. Like there is some obscure stuff
Yeah.
that I like that isn't on Spotify, and I have to find other means to listen to it. But everything else is completely available.
Yeah.
It's an absolutely massive catalog, and yeah, I do. I'm in the same boat that every other indie artist is, where it's like, man, I really wish that we got a significant slice of that pie
Yeah.
because the executives of Spotify, they're not getting fractions of a penny.
What annoys me about Spotify the most is like I don't know how like how much focus is on the algorithm and how much they push artists that everybody knows about. Like when Taylor Swift releases an album, it's on my front page, even though I don't really listen to Taylor Swift. So I'm like, why the fuck is this on my front page? Like, why do I care? I don't care. Like, why are you pushing her? She's already like a millionaire a billion times over. Like, it's annoying.
No, I know what you mean, and it's a game that we're forced to play. When it comes to the algorithms and stuff like that. Like there's, at the end of the day, like I really wish I didn't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff at all.
Yeah.
But the unfortunate truth is, you just got to play this game. As far as the algorithm goes, as far as promotion goes, I'm really not a promotion guy by nature, but you know
Yeah.
yeah, the whole I know what you're talking about when it comes to like Taylor being pushed on people. There are ways that um I believe you can like purchase, campaigns on Spotify now to push your album like in front of more people, which I didn't do personally. I don't think I have enough streams to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird. It's just a weird time for indie artists, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep doing what I do, and I'm gonna keep making music, and I don't see any end in sight there. But it's constantly just for indie artists, you're just trying to navigate this thing, and it's constantly changing around you, and you just have to navigate it as best as you can, and with the end goal of just getting your music in front of people however you can.
Because it's so. I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but I find it so like depressing to really just try and convince anyone to listen to you, to pay attention to you a little bit. Like it feels like you have to shout so loud, and that makes me feel embarrassed. Like I don't want to be down people's throats. Like listen to this, listen to this. Like keep reminding people. Like I feel so annoying, but I feel worse at the idea that I will make something that I feel is good and that I will waste its potential by not doing that.
Right. No, I know what you mean. And like it's a delicate balance. Like it's a really delicate balance cuz yeah, you I don't know. I guess I have my own philosophies when it comes to promotion and stuff like that, but I try to not worry about it too much. I try to um I remember like, I'm going to name drop here a little bit, but like back in like 2015 I hit up Will Toledo from Car Seat Headrest, and I was
Mm.
like I need some like advice because this was like right before they signed a Matador, and like
Yeah.
they were already huge, and then they signed a Matador and released Teens of Denial, and then
Yeah.
everything, they blew up, and now they're headlining festivals and shit like that. But he was like, because he's somebody who early on I was looking at Car Seat Headrest, and I really liked Twin Fantasy, like every other Bandcamp artist ever back in like
Yes.
2013. And I was just like, how did you do that? And how do I, emulate what you've done, basically? Like, what does an artist have to do? And he pretty much was the guy who was like, just don't worry about promotion too much. Like,
Mm,
just keep working at it and keep focusing on your music and keep putting it out and
yeah.
just like focus on your craft was pretty much what he told me. And so I've kind of, ever since, and that was like 7 years ago, but I'm still working at it, and I still, take that advice to heart, and I still um, try to just focus on my craft and just be, like I said before, an artist who's putting out music that's good enough to warrant people listening to it. And if it is good enough, all you can hope is that it energizes people enough to tell their friends, like, hey, you really should listen to this guy. And
Yeah.
that's all you can really hope for.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because Twin Fantasy, like the original 2011 version, is also a super inspiring record in the fact that, like, he was, like, nobody knew about him, and then all of a sudden, like, he just, that happened. Like, suddenly everyone knew about this classic, like, similar to, like, Paranormal. And
Yeah, yeah.
that's the dream, like, it's so nice to know that that could happen. It's also depressing every day that it doesn't happen, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. At the end of the day, if you're, like if you're making music, that's the most important thing. If you really are making something that fulfills you, because
Yeah.
you know, that's what music does for me. Sometimes I tell people I'm a musician. Sometimes people ask what I'm going to do today, and I say, well, I've got music work to do, and they'll say, oh, that sounds fun. And I'm like, well, it's not really fun for me personally. Like, I don't like. I guess I don't think of it as like me having fun. Like, I think of it as me doing something that I feel like I need to do, or
Yeah,
like something that actually gives my life like a legitimate purpose. Like, it's fulfilling to me. And
absolutely.
so yeah, I can genuinely say that if nobody was listening, I would still be putting out records. And that's what keeps me going. It's just the idea of trying to make great albums.
Yeah, I agree. Like, for me on Spotify, I've yet to have a song hit 1,000 streams organically. So it's very, like, it's a super small operation, but it's just so, it's enjoyable. But yeah, it's like not always fun. It's fun if I make a good song by the end of the day, but if the days where I'm just like hacking at like just a terrible song and it's not good, and like I spend all this time and then I listen to it and I think, oh, this is actually awful. Like, that
I've
just,
been there.
it's a terrible feeling.
I'm there all the time. I can't like I've written some really bad songs that nobody will ever hear. Like, there's a lot of crap on my computer, like a lot of just bad stuff. And I guess that for me, like, I'm inspired by artists like Robert Pollard from Guided by Voices, one of my favorite bands of all time. And I mean, he's very much of like a volume writer, in the sense
Hmm.
that, like, he will, by his own admission, write 100 terrible songs for every 10 great songs that he
Yeah.
writes. And he does write a ton of great music. And so, that's just part of being an artist. Writing really shitty songs is just part of being an artist, and
Hmm.
everybody does it.
Yeah.
Um,
That's what separates good artists from great artists, is your ability to curate. Like when do you start excluding those songs that aren't necessary, remove the filler, keep it
yeah,
all killer, and that's really when you, because what, like Arcade Fire as an example, because it's
yeah,
fun to shit on Arcade Fire, even though they've done some
yeah,
really good records. But I remember they talked about for Reflector, that record, which is a record that I am on the fence about. I think like half of it is really good. I think half of it is really not good. Um, and
yeah.
they talked about writing like what, a fucking 100 or so songs for that whole session, and I'm thinking like, oh my god, like if some of these songs are the songs that made it on the record, what didn't make it on the record?
Right. And, it's really funny that you bring that up, and it's actually very strange because I was listening to Reflector last night or 2 nights ago for the first time since it came out.
Oh wow.
Because, yeah, so it's really bizarre that you brought it up because, yeah, I was listening to it because when it came out, I dug it, back, and that was like 2013.
Yeah.
And I was listening to it now, and I was like, yeah, this is okay. But compared to the rest of their discography, obviously it's a
Yeah.
little bit,
Yeah.
it's a deviation, and I respect deviations. You know, it's cool, um, but yeah, no, I'm with you in terms of yeah, just doing your best to figure out what people should hear and what should probably stay on the shelf. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I always struggle with. That's part of why it takes me so long is because I'll write an entire LP's worth of material like I did for this album and then decide, some of this stuff, this song that I thought was it for months and then one day realized this isn't it, and had to put it on the shelf. That's certainly part of the songwriting process and
Yeah.
a really important part of it.
Do you do you know or use or have ever used the website submithub?
Yes, yes,
That
I have.
was an incredibly humbling experience for me.
I just did. I
Really?
just used it for this album. Yeah, because like I don't care that much about promotion, but at the same time, it's like I do feel like I have some duty to see if I can get some blogs,
Yeah.
writing up about it, just because that's nice. I don't expect, that they're gonna make my career go parabolic. It's
Yeah.
just nice to put something out there on some corners of the internet where people are writing up about the album. And I did get a couple of blogs to write up about
Nice.
Ghosty, but I also I got I get rejected. I
Yes.
get and like Submit Hub is kind of notorious because it's become this thing where the guy who made Submit Hub had this great idea and he was like, I'm going to make it so easy for artists to talk to blogs. All they have to do is get out their credit card, give us money, and then pay these blogs so that these blogs can listen to it and then just give them like the most asinine rejection letter they've ever gotten in their life.
Yeah.
And like, like it on one hand, like it is a nifty idea, but on the other hand, it really like it takes something that should be very organic and just strips it of everything
Yeah.
about it that's organic. Like you become a number on an Excel spreadsheet
Mm-hmm.
essentially, and it becomes like a numbers game, and it's just yeah, like it's notorious. Like
Yeah.
I firmly believe that um, you just it's humbling, like you said. Like you're gonna get people who are gonna give you valuable critique. Like I've gotten some valuable criticism
Yeah.
from blogs who rejected my music, and I was like, all right, you know what, that's fine. It wasn't for you. This music isn't for everybody, so I'm not going to take it too personally. And then I've gotten some critique where I was just like, this is like the most insane thing I've ever read.
Yeah.
This is insane. I take nothing from this.
Yeah.
But thanks for taking my money, and then like
Yeah.
that's all I can say.
Cause yeah, the problem with the system is ultimately like who's benefiting the most? The people who can shell out enough money to pay for
Right.
more submissions. So at the same time, well,
Right.
we're just back to fucking the same thing, like more money, more advertising, more success. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, you're talking about submitting to blogs, and I did some of that as well, but I also did like the hot or not thing where just random users can, and I've never seen so much like completely unfiltered opinions, and it is humbling because it's like because you show your friends and they're polite whether they like it or that maybe they don't like it, but they're like
Right.
you're like, oh, like this is neat, this is for somebody, but then like on Submit Hub they'll be like, this is garbage, like this is noise, this is pointless, why would you show me
Yeah.
this? It's brutal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I mean like I like the I've gotten some like negative feedback on Submit, but I've gotten a lot of negative feedback just everywhere on the internet. I've had plenty of people tell me really mean stuff about my music over the past like almost 10 years that I've been doing it. There's always going to be people who tell you that your music is shit and
Yeah,
really have nothing constructive to
yeah,
tell you except that they hate it and they
because
think this sucks and that you should stop.
you gotta have thick skin at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You have to. You have to just be able to persevere and focus on the people who do like it and who do
yeah.
enrich your life and who do try to nurture that artist in you to keep going.
Because you see out in the world, like, when, like, people, like, the best band that you just think is the most amazing thing, some guy will be like, fuck that band, I hate that band. Same with,
Oh
like,
yeah.
the worst band ever that you just don't respect at all. There's someone who, that is their favorite band. So that gives me
Yeah.
hope, you know? Even if I'm delusional and my music is actually really bad, somebody out there is gonna love it, even if it's bad.
Yeah, your music is somebody's 10 is like what I try to remember. Like this album, somebody out there will think it's perfect. Like it's and you got to make sure that it's you. You got to make sure that you think that what you're putting out is perfect and worthy
Yeah.
of other people's attention. Like that's how I look at it.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, what do you think you'll do for your next project? Like, how are the things you're working on now? Is it stylistically different again? Another shift?
I definitely think that I will say I do want to try to release this one sooner than 4 years. I do want to, like I'm feeling very dialed in as far as my music goes. I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
very, um, like every time I release an album, I feel like I'm getting a little closer to understanding who I am as a writer and an artist, and
Mm-hmm.
this time's no exception. So I do think that the next album, I mean, it's super early. I really can't make any like statements about how it's going to sound, but I would venture to say that I'm not going to try to do the same thing twice for the most part.
Yeah.
Um, so whatever happens, I'll keep people updated on social media um, regarding my future projects, and I definitely have a lot. I have a lot of ideas that I want to keep exploring, and a lot of things that I want to try to do. So I would expect something different for sure.
So, like, purely hypothetical, what's a
Mm.
sound that eventually you would want to explore that's, like, new to you?
Uh, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, I don't know. I can't really like. I can't say for sure. Like, there are like some ideas here and there,
Right.
but like I haven't really found anything that I've like landed on where I'm, 100% in on the idea of
Yeah.
doing this. And at the
Well,
end of the day, it's hard to, I guess, put it like it's hard to think of it in terms because like when I made Pyreburning, I didn't really think of it in terms of like a genre,
yeah.
or like I didn't really think of it in terms of like yeah, I'm gonna go for this specific sound, and this is how we're gonna do it. It just kind of like came together the way it did, um, and all my music kind of comes together in that way. I'm not really focusing on like trying to make it sound like a certain way. It's just whatever comes
Oh,
out,
yeah.
and then at the end of the day, when it's done, I can take a look at it and say, oh, this is how it ended up coming out. But I try to make everything come out really naturally,
Mhm.
and just kind of let the music see what comes out, see where it goes.
I,
So
for me, like, I often, like, almost, like, do the opposite, where like, well, when I have no ideas, and I'm just like, let's see what happens, because I have to do a new project. That's when a lot of like random stuff happens. But I feel like once I make one solid song, I'll be like, this is the blueprint, and then I like try to have everything almost center around that
yeah.
for like the full record with like whatever, whether that be like some element of the instrumentation or like a lyrical theme or something like that, and I just kind of build
Mhm.
off of it from there, and that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm very much, I'm in the same boat in that regard, but um who knows, like I said, I'm working on some material right now. I'm really happy with it, but who knows, I might throw it out the window in a couple months anyway, so
Yeah. How do you feel about your first record, Old Factory Living, in 2022? How do you feel about it now?
I so like I've put like a decent amount of thought into it, and sometimes I'll go back and I'll listen to it, but it's hard to, I don't know. Like I'm proud of it for being the record that it is. I was a younger guy. I was 22 when I put that out. I'm almost 30 now. I was a way different artist.
Mm-hmm.
Recording in a much different way back like on 4 track, and I don't know if I'll ever go back to recording that way again, but we'll see. Um, I try to be proud of it. I try to do that with my old music, is kind of look at it as being from almost a different person, and just being able to say, hey, you know what, this is what I was doing when I was younger. I can be proud of this. There were some good ideas here. There are definitely some songs that I put out on Old Factory Living where I'm like, it would have been cool if this never saw the light of day. I would have slept great if nobody had heard this song. And like even on like earlier stuff that I'd put out, back on SoundCloud and stuff like that, like way back in the day.
Yeah.
I try to just appreciate what I've done and also how I've changed as an artist since then.
Would you ever like completely redo like a song from your first record, like almost like the Twin Fantasy remake? Would you ever do that for like one song, maybe?
I personally probably wouldn't. I mean, the closest I ever got was Old King Cole on Goodnightdaydream was
Yeah.
like that was a remake of a song that I had done on 4 track a couple years before that, off of some demos that I had done on a 4 track one day. But for me, personally, um, because I do know about like the Twin Fantasy remake and that's fine and everything, but for me, um, I wouldn't really feel compelled to do that. I'm not really a big revisiting old ideas guy. I
Yeah.
kind of want to let old projects be what they are. They're out there. They're in the world. People can listen to them if they want. They're established albums, and I just kind of want to keep my head forward and explore new things and add new songs to my catalog.
Yeah. Because I've thought about the same thing too. Like even like because my first record is from 2 years ago, which is very not long ago. But at the same time, like I'll listen and I'll be like, wow, like I totally would not do this nowadays. But if I ever think of like remaking it, I'll be like, well, if I changed everything around it, then I don't know. Then it kind of loses what I liked about it in the first place. So maybe it's a product of its time, a product of who I was, and like even if I don't like it as much as what I do now, that's fine. That's fun.
Yeah, no, a product of its time. That's exactly how I feel about it as well. Like and if anybody like as far as Car Seat Headrest goes, or you go, or anybody else who wants to redo old music, that's totally fine, and I support that. That's fine. But for me, I kind of just want to leave Old Factory living the way it is.
Hmm.
You know, maybe one day if I ever started playing live shows, which I haven't done before as Arvid or anything like that, it would be cool to kind of revisit those songs and see how I could rework them. But
Yeah.
as far as putting out records, yeah, I just kind of want to focus on making new things and furthering my craft and that kind of thing.
What did you think about the 2018 Twin Fantasy remake?
I thought it was pretty good, but at the same time, I think that a lot of people preferred it because they were just like, oh, finally I can listen to Twin Fantasy where it wasn't recorded on a laptop in some
Yeah.
dude's call. But like for me, I like that, and I guess I don't mind abrasive production like that. Like
Hmm.
I do know that like I've listened to the original Twin Fantasy so many times. Um, that I know how it can be a little grating sometimes, and I definitely know that in Will's case, it wasn't really ideal, I'm sure,
Hmm.
to record an album that way, and he probably would have much preferred to do it in a traditional studio. But for me, as a home recording guy, because that's one of the main things about my style is I never want to really step foot in the studio and record that way. It's just not me at
Yeah.
all. So for me, I prefer the original. It's cool to listen to the new one and kind of see how things have changed. See, because you can hear he definitely approached the music a little bit differently.
Hmm.
Um, being that he's older, being that he has more experience in making music, and so it is cool to like hear how these old ideas have been revived. But I prefer listening to the original for sure, maybe because it comes down to um, it being a product of its time, and that's just timeless. That I think that album's timeless.
I absolutely agree. I don't know why so many people prefer the 2018 version because, like, hot take, I actively dislike the 2018 version. I feel like it
Yeah,
sounds worse in almost every way.
right.
Like, it's a novelty, it's neat, like, cool, but a million times the 2011 one is just like, I'm so glad it went on streaming services eventually, too, because, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
No,
I feel like
I know. What
once you lose the fuzz, like, I don't know, there's, like, a lot of that raw, like, youthful energy that I felt like was lost. Like it almost became more sterile, I thought.
Yeah. No, like and that's I prefer listening to the original, I guess, because that's an album made by a guy where not a lot of people were listening to him, and he was recording this stuff in his car, and like that, there's a lot of energy there that you can't really replicate. And it's the kind of stuff where you can take the music and the lyrics, and you can you know put that out again in a new way, but you do lose something substantial Because and I kind of feel the same way about my stuff. Is like Old Factory Living was recorded in an attic on a 4-track cassette, on a 4-track, and if I were to redo those songs, they would lose something substantial.
Yeah.
Pyreburning was recorded in my bedroom. If I had recorded that in a studio, it would have lost something substantial because that the environment around you when you're making music plays a significant part in what comes out, in my opinion, and it's not something that can easily be heard, but it is something important to me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm the same thing. I have the worst mic ever that I use, and gets the job done, and that's ultimately not my
There you
focus.
go.
So yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I'm all about it. I still use crappy equipment. Like, I don't care. I've never been a big equipment guy. I've never been a big, let me go to a studio where I can use a
Yeah.
$9,000 microphone kind
Yeah.
of guy to get the tone that I want. Like, you can get the tone that you want. If you really want to, you can use, anything to get that tone. I've used Guitar Hero mics and stuff like that in the past. I use like pretty much, pretty low end stuff. This mic that I'm talking on right now was like my like one of the bigger investments, and this is like a $60 condenser mic or something like that. It's not crazy, but you
Yeah.
just gotta put your heart into it and put the work in. You can
Yeah.
get the sound you're going for.
Because if you are that like equipment guy, it adds up so fucking fast, like so
Yeah.
fast.
No, I was just gonna say, and like that's totally fine too, like for the equipment guys out there, because being a musician, I've met plenty of gearheads, who just want to talk about their gear and like
Yeah.
their tone and stuff, and like that's fine, if that's what gets you going, then go for it. But yeah, that's never been me personally.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like even like this record that I'm working on, I'm gonna release in June. This is the first one that I'm really trying to like. I don't know, like, because I was looking at like professional mastering and getting like a price quote for that because like I don't know, I saw everywhere that it's worth it, and like I thought, well, maybe I want to expand my sort of DIY sound. Fucking like the cheapest one I could find that I got a price point at was 400 Canadian dollars. But that is wild. Like that's like I mean, not that it doesn't deserve the payment. Like of course, like if you're doing a service, you deserve to be paid
Right.
accordingly. But I'm just saying, like fuck, like that's one thing to do, and that's already $400.
Yeah, no, and like I will say, I do think that like good mastering is a good idea, and like I master my own stuff, and I don't think it's a great idea. It's just that I'm just a control freak, and I think that it's almost a detriment. Like I should get somebody else mastering my stuff. Um, I have worked as a mastering engineer for other artists in the past, and I think that it was a good thing for them, and it was a good experience for me. But like I like it is one of those things that's probably a good idea, but at the same time it's not totally necessary. Like you can
Yeah.
work around that. It just comes down to who you are as an artist, and it can get pricey depending on the mastering engineer that you go for. But
Yeah, well, because the guy that I talked to, he was really cool about it. Because I have an intro and an outro that are like really short, and he was like, "Oh, like I'll do those for free." So that was even like cheaper than if I like he like took 2 songs off. So and I took
right.
the plunge. So we'll see. We'll see
Yeah,
how
well,
that goes.
yeah, no, and definitely send that my way because I definitely want to check that out. I'm sure it's going to be great.
I hope so. I fucking hope so.
Yeah,
I think he'll get back to me like soon, like in a couple weeks or something. So that's fun.
that's
Um,
awesome.
what do you think about 2022 as far as like musically? Have you been enjoying what's being released so far?
So far, yeah, I'm trying to remember. I mean, like Black Country New Roads new album, I thought was amazing. It's really, really, really good. Um, Man, what else came out this year? Yeah, I don't. I mean, like so far, I can't really, for whatever reason, I can't really think of like specifics right now. But um,
What about that Animal Collective record though?
oh yeah, that Animal Collective record was awesome.
Hmm.
I really like it. Yeah, I almost forgot about that. That's like my favorite Animal Collective record in like a decade.
Yeah,
It's really really good. It's really exciting to hear them kind of, you know, I don't know, strip things back a little bit because that's kind of the problem I had with painting with is like
yeah,
I felt like they were trying to do a little too much, and then with time skips they kind of were like, let's strip things back. Let's kind of go back to the beginning and just get out our instruments and try making our music, in a much simpler way, and it worked out super well. I
Mm-hmm.
love it. Yeah. So and for Animal Collective, they're one of my biggest influences for sure. I absolutely love them, and one of my favorite bands of all time. And so yeah, it was super exciting to hear them making something that I love.
Yeah, I'm still glad they have it in them. You know, that's awesome to
Oh,
see.
absolutely. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
huge agree on Black Country New Road. I really didn't like them from their first record. I listened to it and I was like, this is pretentious bullshit. I don't like this. This is lame. I don't like all the celebrity references. Um,
Right.
and then I was like, I didn't listen to any of the singles coming to this new one, but I saw how much buzz it was getting. Like, fuck, like when was the last time a rock record got this much critical and public attention, like from
Yeah.
an underground indie act? So I was like, damn. I listened to it. It blew my mind open. It
Yeah.
like I was so reluctant to enjoy it, and yet I fucking absolutely love it. It's so good. They really convinced me through sheer good music to have to like them as a band.
Yeah, like I didn't mind their first album. I thought it was pretty good, but I didn't expect them to follow it up with Ants from Up There, which yeah, it's one of those albums that's getting like universal praise, and I think it's totally deserved because it's a special album. It's really well done. I really like that they kind of explored that like chamber pop kind of thing. I think it's really well done. And then I will say, as far as more recent music, I mean this came out last year, late last year, but Injury Reserves. By the time I get to Phoenix, that's like one of the best
Yes.
albums I've heard in the past decade.
Yeah.
I hold that album in extremely high regard. I think that it's like kind of a masterpiece. Really well done.
So impressive. I was very influenced by this next record. Like the first song I'm gonna release from this album, literally like I just like fully injury reserved by the time I get to Phoenix. Influenced.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Like it's the way they manipulate samples, like it felt so unique. Like it truly felt like I hadn't heard a record like that.
Yeah, no. When I got to the end of that album and they heavily sampled "Here Come the Worm Jets" by Brian Eno, I was like, oh yeah, these are my kinds of guys
Yeah.
for
And
sure.
and they sample Black Country New Road on
Oh yeah, they did,
yeah.
they
What song
did,
was that? I think
which is
on
pretty cool.
Superman Dad, I want to say.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah.
is really cool.
And Black Midi.
Um, yeah, and Black Midi, I really liked Cavalcade as well. I thought that was a great album.
Yeah, like that. They really like changed the way that like I don't know that like that you could transform samples in that way like so effectively. Like I've sampled some crazy things for this next record that I'm totally not allowed to, totally not allowed.
Right,
But I've
which is
tried,
fun. Yeah,
but I've tried to transform them in a way that I'm hoping that they're not even recognizable. Because I wouldn't have
yeah,
guessed, besides like the Brian Eno one, but like I wouldn't have guessed like the Black Midi or Black Country New Road. Like I wouldn't have, like unless you told me. So that's what I'm channeling.
yeah, yeah. No, I definitely I sampled some stuff on Pyreburning as well. Like just like like really like stuff on YouTube videos that have like 50 views,
Hmm.
like where I don't know if anybody's going to be able to really pick that out, but yeah, sampling's fun. I think Injury Reserve they did it in a really amazing way. I think that's an incredible album in terms of its production and everything like that.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it's been good. It's been exciting. 2022. I hope that things continue to well. It's funny because Black Country New Road was a band that I did not like, and then the bands I do like have released like the ones out. Some of the albums that I have been looking forward to have been kind of like disappointing. Like Alex Cameron. Like, do you listen to any Alex Cameron?
I not really, but I did listen to his most recent album.
It's his
Oxen.
worst. It's just his
Yeah,
worst for sure.
it's not for me, but at the same, like I respect it. I try to respect everything that I listen to and like find, um, its redeeming qualities. It's not really my kind of thing, but it's all right for what it is.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But
If
I'm
you
not,
if you don't like the sort of like thing in general, like what he's going for, then you might not like his other stuff because it felt like his other albums, but just worse. But Forced Witness from 2017 is like literally one of my favorite records. His character writing is so fantastic. Like all of these characters that he's talking about that are so shitty and sleazy, but they're also like sympathetic or they're interesting. Um,
mhm.
it's fantastic. I'd like to do a record or a song like that eventually where it's like fully outside of myself. But so far, pretty much everything I've done has been very like personally related.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, and I'll have to check that out. But like as far as Oxy music goes, like I immediately thought of Roxy Music, one of my favorite bands of all time, and so I kind of like had that comparison in my head the whole time, which is always like if if I'm listening to your album and I'm comparing you to Brian Ferry, like you better bring the heat because it's pretty tough.
um, yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, as well, just quick extra thoughts on Goodnight Daydream,
Sure.
as well. I feel like the more I've listened to it over the years, the more I've really come to enjoy. Like I already enjoyed it, but I feel like I enjoy it now more than I ever did. I feel like it's like aged well. Like as far as like bands from like a small artist, like because that album was like one of the first ones that I had listened to from like a small artist because I didn't really start getting into music until like 2018, anyways.
Uh-huh.
And the more I've listened, the more I realize it's a really good it's a really good record.
Yeah, thank you.
It's so like detailed and like the things you do, like the lyricism, like pretty much top to bottom. It's very good. And anyone listening that hasn't listened to it from 4 years ago, you should absolutely go listen to it now. Go listen to Pyreburning as well, because it's just like impressive. There's so much like small bands out there that it just feels unfinished, but a lot of the work that you do feels very fully realized.
Right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, thank you. And I mean that's certainly something that I go for when I'm, like I've said kind of like earlier on today, like I care very I am kind of a perfectionist when it comes to um the music that I make. I do want it to be able to stand the test of time, and that's the ultimate hope is that somebody can come across this album years later and find something about it that they really like. And the same with Pirate Burning as well. Like I did make an album that is a little more divisive, I think. I think that it's not an album for everybody, and that's okay. But I do hope that, years down the road, somebody will come across it and find something about it that they really like, and something about it that's unique as well. And hopefully, that's one of the big goals when I'm making records is, that this isn't just something that comes out and then people kind of move on to the next thing. Hopefully that there's something here worth revisiting in the future.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to bring up or to talk about. Is there anything else that you wanted to acknowledge or speak on while we're here?
I don't think so. I mean, I appreciate anybody listening to my stuff, and I hope that people dig Fire Burning, and hopefully, we'll see. I do think that this time I mean it, in terms of releasing an album a lot sooner than 4 years. So hopefully, with any luck, I can't say anything for certain, but I think that the next one will be out sooner than people would expect.
Yeah, well, we will be there to see. Thank you very much for joining me here today, and thank you for releasing the art that you do, because I've enjoyed it quite a bit, and I hope that, at least one person that listens to this that hasn't heard it discovers it, because, it's one of those things that you just want to spread by word of mouth. So, thank you very much, and I don't know, I'll see you around.
All right, great. Sounds good. Thanks again. I really appreciate it.